It is with profound appreciation for the critical work ahead that I stand today to address one of the most fundamental pillars of the Sendai Gender Action Plan, Key Objective 1, which seeks to increase the availability of disaggregated data by sex, age, income, and disability on gender and disaster risk. For disaster risk reduction, 2015 to 2030 represents a landmark international commitment to substantially reduce disaster risk and losses. The reality we confront is that there exists a significant lack of comparable data on how disaster risk and the impacts of disasters differ for women, girls, men, boys, and people of diverse genders. This data gap is not merely an academic concern, it represents a fundamental barrier to achieving equitable and effective disaster risk reduction. Many countries face significant challenges in collecting disaggregated data, particularly at the local level and in analyzing, reporting, using, and communicating it at the national level. Without such data, we can't understand the full scope of disaster impacts, nor we can design interventions that truly leave no one behind. Desegregation matters because disasters are not gender neutral events. Research indicates that gender inequality increases disaster risk and impacts for women and girls. Women, girls, and marginalized groups often face greater risk due to unequal access to resources, information, and decision making power. The Sendai GAP recognizes that by 2030, we must reduce gender related disaster risks through systemic data collection and analysis. The four dimensions of disaggregation specified in Key Objective 1 are each crucial. Sex disaggregation reveals how disasters affect different genders differently. Population statistics and socioeconomic data must be available in disaggregated form along with data on disaster loss, damage, and impacts. Age disaggregation exposes children, adolescents, working age adults, and older persons face distinct vulnerabilities. Younger and older population often require specialized assistance during disasters, and their needs can't be addressed through policies. Income disaggregation illuminates the intersection between poverty and disaster vulnerability. Intersectional risk factors such as living in poverty can increase gendered risk. Those with lower income often lack the resources to prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters. Disability disaggregation ensures that persons with disabilities are not invisible in our disaster risk reduction efforts. Persons with disabilities face unique challenges during disasters, including barriers to evacuation, communication, and accessing emergency services. Key Objective 1 emphasizes not only quantitative data but also qualitative information on gender and disaster risk. While quantitative data is crucial for monitoring progress, too much focus on it can lead to assumptions about women and people with disabilities as homogeneous groups. Qualitative data analysis helps us understand the root causes of vulnerability and identify entry points for transforming social and gender norms through disaster risk reduction. Qualitative information captures the lived experiences, cultural context, and social dynamics that numbers alone can't reveal. It helps us understand how different identities intersect to create unique privileges and discriminations in the context of disasters. Many countries lack the institutional capacity, technical expertise, and financial resources to collect comprehensive disaggregated data. Local level data collection remains particularly weak, creating a disconnect between national policies and local realities. Furthermore, data silos between different government agencies, international organizations, and research institutions prevent the synthesis of comprehensive picture of disaster risk. Intersectional risk factors compound these challenges. Living in poverty, having a disability, being displaced, or living in a conflict zone, remote rural areas, islands, or socially marginalized community can all increase gendered risks. Without disaggregated data that captures these intersections, the disaster risk reduction strategies will inevitably fail the most vulnerable. The Sendai GAP identifies 9 key objectives related to the 4 priorities of the Sendai framework with 33 recommended actions promoting gender equality. For key objective 1, implementation requires strengthening national statistical systems to routinely collect, analyze, and report disaggregated data on disaster risk and impacts. This includes integrating gender, age, income, and disability variables into all disaster related data collection efforts. Second, building local capacity for data collection at the community level. Local governments and community organizations must be empowered to collect and use disaggregated data for local disaster risk reduction planning. Third, establishment of data sharing mechanisms across institutions and sectors. Breaking down data silos requires coordinated efforts among government agencies, international organizations, research institutions, and civil society. Fourth, investing in qualitative research methodologies that capture lived experiences and social dynamics. This includes community based assessments, narrative documentation, and participatory research approaches. Fifth, ensuring data quality and comparability across time and geography. Standardized methodologies and indicators enable meaningful comparisons and trend analysis. Data can be a foundation for equality. Key objective 1 of the Sendai GAP is not merely about collecting numbers, it is about making visible those who have been invisible in disaster risk reduction. It is about recognizing that gender equality and disaster risk reduction are mutually reinforcing goals. The Sendai GAP offers a blueprint for integrating gender equality into every stage for disaster risk management. By increasing the availability of disaggregated data, we enable evidence based decision making that truly serves all members of society. We can move beyond assumptions and generalizations to targeted interventions that address specific vulnerabilities. We transform disaster risk reduction from a technical exercise into a vehicle for social justice and equality. The path to 2030 demands urgent action. We should invest in the Gender Action Plan for disaster risk reduction, recognizing that improving data availability is foundational to achieving both gender equality and the prevention and reduction of gender disaster risk. Only through comprehensive disaggregated data we can ensure that our disaster risk reduction efforts leave no one behind and build a more equitable, resilient world for all. Thank you.